Hey there everybody, Eric from Outer Limitless coming at you today with another knife video. Now today's video was made possible by the people at Kubey. I'd just like to say thank you very much as they have provided this product for me to review today. Now if you've been watching my channel, you may realize that for the most part I seem to be kind of particular with my knives and blades. For the most part I tend to go after the sort of higher quality, less budget style knives in general. I mean, I tend to like fixed blades. I tend to like slightly more expensive knives. And so I don't often get into a budget class of knife, but I was solicited by the people at Kubey to provide a video for them. And I immediately thought, well, I better check these products out. I better see what they're all about and see if it's something that even fits my genre. And I'll tell you, at first I wasn't so sure, but I looked a little deeper into their website, took a look at the products that they had available, and realized they had some pretty nice looking stuff. So in that regard, I figured I might as well move forward, work with them to provide a review, and take a look at these knives and see if there's something that you may find is a good option for you. Now, Kubey is a Chinese brand of knife. They have multiple different lines and price ranges, and they do seem to have a bunch of different styles. And so at first when I was looking at them, I thought they were more of a budget knife, but then I looked a little bit further and realized that they had a lot of different options, and some of them are really beautiful. And so I was actually pretty excited. I had never heard of Kubey before. This was my first time taking a look at their products, and so I really took a big dive into their website to see what they had available. And if you look, I mean, they have a good range of products from the $0 to $100 range. They actually have another range of products that cover the $100 to $200 range, and they actually have some knives that are $300 and above. And so taking a look at just real quick, like the $0 to $100 range, I mean, the knife that I'm reviewing today is definitely towards the budget side, but as you go a little bit further, some of these blades are really pretty neat and have a cool style to them. Like for example, this mini Damascus pocket knife has like a really beautiful Damascus pattern and a nice what they're calling a shadow wood handle. Kind of looks a little bit like a rosewood handle, but they're calling it a shadow wood. So definitely some really neat and unique styles. I'm kind of intrigued by some of the things that I'm seeing here, and that's why I was actually pretty excited to get my hands on one of these Kubey knives to see what they're all about. Now they do even have some fixed blade styles. They're not all pocket knives or folders, and in this case you end up with a neat hunting knife with a kind of decorated blade. I mean, nice Damascus pattern and actually a really interesting stag handle. So just some really cool looking stuff. So I figured, like I said, just worth taking a look at this company and seeing if they have products that would sort of fit my style, and also see if there's something that would really fit for you. So the knife I have before me today, like I said, is a little bit more towards the budget side, but it's definitely worth taking a look, getting an understanding of the quality, the fit and finish. I'll talk a little bit about the steel choice and the handle materials. And so at least you'll get an understanding of kind of what this brand is about. So as I mentioned, these knives are made in China. I received this straight off the Amazon store, so it came to me reasonably quick. Taking a look at the logo, it's actually a pretty cool logo. Kind of like it. It's almost a, I don't know, like a skeleton with some earmuffs and a little hat. Pretty interesting design. And their slogan, "Do what you never did." Well, I guess I've already done that because I've never owned a Kubey knife, so took a step in the right direction there. Getting into the contents of the package, opening it up, we have the knife in a little bubble wrap and a small cellophane wrapper. Now right off the get-go, you'll notice that the knife is quite small. This is not the typical knife that I would carry, but to me that's actually a good thing. It's nice to get my hands on a product that's different than all the other things that I have. So this knife is very different from basically every other knife that I have. Now that's the same, being different in terms of size and also the blade shape. This is definitely a blade shape that's completely different from almost every other folder I have. So to have a nice, neat, unique product in my hands right now is definitely a plus. Now looking at some of the details, you'll see here the Kubey name and logo laser etched on the side of the bolster. Now this blade is made from 440A, which is a stainless steel. It has stainless steel bolsters and a rosewood handle. This knife has a nice hollow design with these standoffs, a small little lanyard hole, and on the underside, a liner lock. Now in terms of deploying the knife, it has this little thumb hole where, I mean, even for a small blade, you're able to pretty much deploy it with ease. You can pretty much get right on it and open it right up. You're not going to be able to really flick it open, that's for sure. I don't think there's even enough blade mass, and I really don't want to cut myself trying. So in reality, deploying this is going to be kind of a controlled process to get that open. Now, one of the things I noticed right away while trying to open this, if you listen carefully, it's a loud squeak. I mean, that's a bad sign already. Not happy with that. And as I look a little bit closer and get in here, I am seeing basically plastic spacers on the inside where the blade is sandwiched between these scales. Now, getting a little deeper into the details, I am noticing, if you take a look at these screw heads, a couple of issues. One is that they kind of appear to be somewhat stripped out. It's hard to tell, but I will zoom in on this a little closer and show you the details. But these screw heads do seem to be just a little bit stripped out, and further down here they are actually coated in, I believe it's rust. So I don't know if that's an issue from being in the package, if it's from manufacturing, if it's from storage, or what the story is. It does not necessarily, well, there's a little bit on this side in terms of the rust, but definitely if you look at these lower screws here, definitely a good amount of rust. I mean, that one is kind of full even. Just a buildup of rust in these screw heads here and here. So I mean, I don't know if that may just be like a packaging storage issue. I mean, if that's the case, it's a real easy fix. Maybe just a little packet of silica gel or something like that. If that's the case, it tells me it's likely not a stainless steel screw. So I'm not sure exactly what's being used there, but if it's rusting, that is not a great sign. Just taking a closer look at some of these screw heads, as I had mentioned, they just appear to be kind of stripped out. And I don't know if it's just that they are a very soft metal, or if it's overall just a lack of attention to detail. I mean, I don't know how you feel about it, but to me, it really takes a good amount of effort to strip out a screw. And I feel like if this is what you see on some of the cheaper blades, I would just be really nervous to spend a lot of money on one of the nicer blades and find that it had stripped out screws. So I hope this is just a function of a softer steel or a softer, screw head on these cheaper blades. Now, another detail that's going to be very hard to see, but it's worth noting, is just the overall size of these handle scales. And if you look at the wood portion, the one on this side is just a little bit thicker than the one on this side. I mean, it's barely noticeable, and certainly probably not really on camera, but you can pick it up. And again, I mean, it's not a huge deal, and obviously this is a budget knife, but at the same time, just the attention to detail, the fit and finish, it's worth noting that, you know, it is just off a little bit, but it's not a big deal. And again, just looking closely, this is where you can kind of see it the most, which is really at these bolt holes. You'll see that this side is thicker than this side. So now that we've gotten through some of the little fit and finish details, let's check out the blade in terms of its ability to do a little bit of slicing here. I'm just going to work on a bit of cardboard. I mean, first, this has a nice point, nice little swedge on the top here. So a good stabbing penetration ability here. And in terms of actually performing some slicing, it definitely has a nicely pronounced tip that's directly in line with what you're going to be trying to use this blade on. So in other words, for opening packages or things like that, this should work pretty nice to be able to get right into, you know, the corner of a package or between the seams and cutting open the tape. So in that regard, you know, it's very controlled and precise, and you definitely have the ability to do some nice detailed work. Now I'm finding that this is not necessarily the grip for me. I'm kind of pinching this thing like this and using my finger. So where this is a smaller knife, I'm seeing this kind of riding simply in my fingers, curling my hand over a little bit, pinching the top, and getting a nice little grip with my finger on the top, where I can really just kind of get right down on what I'm working and draw the blade nice and straight, very precise and easy to use. It's kind of a neat little blade in that regard. So now in terms of me processing some of this cardboard, again, just my ability to get the knife right where you need it. Like if I was going to cut this apart, if this was like a package you were trying to open, very easy to just stick that blade right in the spot you need and draw the knife. It's reasonably sharp, but at the same time, the blade is not very long, so you really only have this very short cutting edge to actually perform the work, which is not a problem. You just need to be mindful of it and kind of pay attention to what you're doing. So in that regard, you need to be very precise and controlled while you're dragging the blade through the cardboard. I mean, it does a decent job. It's reasonably sharp and can definitely do some decent work. Now I'm finding if I'm not careful, I'm getting a little deep on the blade and I'm kind of snagging up where the grind ends. That's my fault. It's not a really fault of the blade. I need to pay more attention and keep myself on the grind versus coming up in here where it's actually unsharpened towards the bottom of the knife. Now just giving you a little bit of a close-up on that detail. Like I mentioned, the bottom of this blade, really towards the handle, is unsharpened. So with such a short blade, if you're not careful and you're just kind of going at it, you can run this blade deep up towards this unsharpened edge, and obviously at that point you're basically going to snag and it'll be a little bit ineffective. So in that regard, it's just kind of a technique thing, something to just be mindful of and pay attention to. With a blade this short, it is very easy to kind of get yourself up into this area where it's unsharpened. So again, now just some typical processing of cardboard. Trying to get this started. I mean, the knife will definitely go through pretty well, but where I struggle is just it's very short, so it's hard to get a real good grip and really, you know, control the cut down through the cardboard. I don't know. It's reasonably sharp, but at the same time, getting up into this area, it's dragging just a little bit. So just being careful here, trying to be a little more controlled with my cut. Yeah, it's definitely snagging once it gets into the belly of the knife right here. So let's try it again. It gets to a spot right in the belly where it's not fully sharpened. I mean, it's pretty good. The tip seems sharp, and definitely the back seems sharp, but that's where you're going to get the most leverage anyway. Yeah, it's not too bad. It's just a little bit awkward with how small and short this knife is. I mean, in terms of slicing with the tip, definitely nice and easy. Cuts through this with ease. So there you go, guys. A quick look at a knife from Kubey Knives. This is an interesting little knife. I really do want to like it. I mean, I think it has some things going for it, but at the same time, it definitely has some deficiencies. Its overall lack in size has pros and cons. Pros being that you can easily fit it inside a pocket and basically make it kind of disappear. But the cons is that it makes it a little bit awkward to use. It may take just a little bit of getting used to, and I think over time I would probably find better ways to use it and actually gain the control that I'm looking for. Obviously, the fit and finish issues are an issue that I think Kubey needs to carefully address. You know, if they are able to bring some of these little details around on their cheaper products, it'll give a consumer the confidence in their higher quality products as well. So, I mean, definitely some manufacturing issues to pay attention to. You know, the rust issue is maybe something that would be very simple to overcome. But the stripping of the bolts and a little bit of these fit and finish issues is definitely something that they need to pay attention to. So Kubey, I hope you understand what I'm pointing out here. I hope you take it to heart, and I think if you're able to make some of these minor modifications in your production process, it will actually go a long way to giving customers the confidence to spend more money on the higher end blades. So alright guys, I hope you liked what you saw. I hope you found it a little bit informative. If you like what you saw, please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, thanks for stopping by. Take care now. I'll see you soon.